Hey, I'm Jess and I'm a friend of Jammin Threads, and today I'm going to show you how you can put your quilt label onto your finished quilt. There's two ways to do it. The first one would be when you are done with your quilt top and you're getting ready to make the backing of your quilt. With a little bit of math, you can piece the label right into the backing. It's great for when you have a scrappy backing. So when you're cutting up your pieces and squaring them off and sewing them together to create the back of your quilt, you would just stitch this right in like it's another piece of fabric, and the label would then just become a part of the back of your quilt. And then you could quilt it and bind it and give it to a loved one. The second way to attach your label to the back of your quilt is called needle turn applique. This method you would do when you're completely done with your quilt. You've quilted it, you've bound it, you're ready to give it to someone, but first you have to add your label. So if you want to come on over here, I'll show you how it's done. So to get started, I went ahead and trimmed my quilt label about a ½ inch around. So I'll have about a ¼ inch around the finished design, and I've got it lined up where I want it. So to begin, I will flip it over, and I'm just gonna finger press about a ¼ inch to seal off that raw edge. And then I can fold it over and put it right where I'm gonna want the finished label to be stitched down. And then I'm gonna use a technique called raw edge applique. So I've buried my knot, and I'm gonna take my first stitch by going into the backing of the quilt and then just come on back up through the label. And you're just catching a few threads on the label and a few threads on the backing of the quilt. And if you go just right on the edge or like the lip of the label, the stitches will disappear. So I've just sewn down the whole first side and I've come to a corner, and I wanted to show you how to stitch the corner when you get there. I also recommend using a pin to pin your label in place so you don't end up sewing it on crooked like I did, but we'll get that fixed later. So when you get to the corner, you can go ahead and use your finger or your needle to kind of scoop the next side under the label. So you're just folding that seam allowance back. And you can use your finger to kind of finger press that along as well. But you just use the same simple stitch and catch a little bit of the backing, a little bit of the label, and turn that corner. Easy peasy. You can go all the way around all 4 sides, and when you get to the end, tie a knot, and you can bury that knot then between your batting and backing of your finished quilt. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for purchasing your Jammin Threads label.